also Vice President of Wisdom University, and he's a Wimberley resident, among many other things. Dr. Taegel?
Thank you. This project interests me on two dimensions. The first dimension is, as an ecological scientist, I'm very interested in how all of this interacts in terms of landscape interactions. But I'm not going to bore you with that side of myself. I want to speak for just a moment to focus us for today using the language from my tribal background as a way for us to experience at a deeper level what this kind of project can mean as a possibility and as a potential. In the ancient peoples, as in the sciences that we're now discovering in the quantum fields and so on, in the ancient world, everything was alive. There was no distinction between the animate and the inanimate. So, as a part of that, and speaking in that ancient language, I want to speak to all of the energy of all of the plants already growing here. So we have this beautiful wild Mustang grapevine going here with grapes, and some of you who like to taste wine every once in a while know that Texas Mustang grapes saved the wine industry in France when France was being ravaged with a particular disease about 50 to 60 years ago. So I like to kid my French friends and say that if it weren't for Texas wild grapes, we wouldn't have any French wines. That may not be true. But the grapes and the trees, the trees here, like the mesquite tree that's here and will be interacting with this garden. In our dominant culture, what do we say? A mesquite tree is a trash tree. We've said for years that cedar or junipers are trash trees, but now with the new studies at A&M, we're finding that junipers, for example, are absolutely essential to this environment and to this system. So that there's a wisdom here in the interplay between the different plants, the soil here that you're using. We have soil right here that's a prototype of what is to come. We have the air and the storms that come and go, the wind, the birds, the bees. All of these living creatures are a part of this garden. And I want to invite us as we launch this wonderful project, I want us to think of our role in a system like this, like an ecological system, that we're not here to dominate. Generally, in our culture, when we think about a garden and farming, we think about, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But the best kind of gardening, we see ourselves as participants, as co-conspirators in the garden itself. And so we ask permission as humans as we start this garden. We humble ourselves before the sacred web that is all around, and this garden will participate in that sacred web. And in that way, no matter what our religious backgrounds, we get to the roots of all religions and the sacredness of all living things. So, as you can guess, hear from my voice, I could go on and on about this, but I want to bring from another garden, my garden. I'm kind of a beginning gardener. Other people here, Sheila and others, kind of mentor me in it. But I'm bringing from my garden a strawberry plant that gave up a part of its life today that I'll put here as compost. I'm bringing one of my favorite plants here, okra. I love okra. Now, if you're from Texas, you probably like it, but if you're not from Texas, like my wife's from Oregon, it's too slimy for her. Okay, we'll put some okra in there. And another favorite of those of us in this part of the world, mustard greens. So maybe someone in these gardens will be growing some mustard greens. You like mustard greens? Take them and cut them up and cut the stem out and saute them in olive oil and put in some onions and you got something going. Now, asparagus.
Oh, wow.
Asparagus coming out of, it's a little harder to grow, but mine came up wild this year. Planted itself, and I've got 6 or 8 stalks growing. And the favorite, we'll ask this plant to nourish us all, tomatoes. I've counted about 18 or 20 that have come out so far and ripening. And lettuce. So this is a kind of a tender lettuce from the garden. Still growing, even though we've had this drought. And so we can't do anything on this planet without soil. And you know what sets this planet apart from others is the ability of the rock cycle to produce soil. Now some of you may or may not know this, but the seat of all the soil in this part of the country is Enchanted Rock.
Really?
So that 1 to 3 billion year old, well, I'll use ancient language, being has supplied all the soil except that which blew down from West Texas to this area. And finally, I want, since we all come from different spiritual traditions, rather than offering a prayer in the usual way, I have a conch shell that was passed down through my tribal background and has been in this part of Texas for 160 years. So that my great-great-grandmother was blowing this shell not only in her ceremonial ways but to help her garden grow in central Texas. So we'll hear it as putting sound waves into the system as the root of all of our spirituality. The conch shell is the oldest known human musical instrument, 38,000 years. So there's an argument there with those who think drums, but the data suggests this. So I'm going to blow this on our behalf and I'll turn it back over to May our garden grow.